Well, hey gang, so today we are going to be doing a new sort of project in Adobe Illustrator, which is the classic design, the low poly portrait poly for polygon. And you can see some examples here. Some of these are a little higher polygons than others. The simple idea is that we're going to take a photograph of someone. If you want to grab a picture of someone that you took a picture of earlier this year, or if you want to just find something online of your favorite actor or actress or something. It needs to be a photograph. It can't be, can't be a cartoon character or a video game character. It has to be an actual photograph. And make sure it's like neck up. Make sure it's from the neck up. Make sure we don't want to have a whole lot of clothing. This is fine too, but the idea is that you want to find a picture of someone that you can change into this sort of low resolution sort of polygon portrait here, and we'll kind of go through the steps on how we do this. All right, so let's go ahead and create new, and we're just going to go back to our sort of print dialog here and find any one of these. We're just going to change from points over to inches, and I'm just going to make this a simple, 5" by 5" design here, just to have something a little easy to manage. I'll press create, and we'll start in by bringing in the photograph that we did. So we can basically just open up the picture where we have our photograph, and I can just grab my picture here of Danny Trejo, and I'll zoom out, hold down the Alt key and roll down with the mouse wheel to zoom out, and we can kind of get our move tool selected here, and we'll just sort of pull this down. So hold down Shift to constrain it to its proportions, and get it positioned to where his face takes up most of the screen here. In this case, I'm going to pull this down a little bit here. You can kind of see the borders of your artboard there at the bottom, so just going to keep that going there. And I'll have his head sort of cuts off at the top there, so I'll make sure that's off the top. It's slightly bit bigger here. So even though this is extending past the artboard, it's not going to matter because we're going to get rid of this photo towards the end here. Let's go ahead and go over to our layers dialog here, and let's lock this layer down by pressing this little icon besides the eye. There's nothing there. We'll click this little square here. It locks down. So if we had our move tool, it's like we can't do anything with it. We can't do anything on this layer. So let's go ahead and make a new layer, and I'm just going to click create new layer, and this is where we're going to be doing most of our stuff on this layer right here. So we're going to be using this tool here, the pen tool. This works in the same way that the Bezier pen tool works in Photoshop. You can click, and then when you click again, you hold it down. Don't bring it up. You can make little curves, and the curves kind of go in a specific little way, much like the curvature pen tool did. And you can, once again, you can adjust the curves by holding down Control and sort of moving them around and stuff. Or you can even use your sort of select by nodes, your secondary select tool, direct select tool, and you can move them around like that. We're not going to be making anything curved. We're going to be making some real flat polygons. And the name of the game is to get it as simple as possible. 3-sided or 4-sided polygons, or what you want to do. You don't want to make any really complicated shapes. So let's go ahead and go to our properties, and let's click on our pen tool, and let's go ahead and click fill and make fill blank. So it's going to be blank, and let's go ahead and make stroke something easy to see against the background here. I'm going to make it red. We'll change these a little later. So I'm going to go in here real close, and let's do this. Let's go click our pen tool, and I'll just start into it by just drawing a little polygon, just kind of following along the planes of your photograph's face. So I get a polygon there, I make one here, and you want to definitely start off the polygon, and then you can connect to it. It should snap to it. If it's not snapping to it, what you can do is go to View. Once again, let me make sure we close our polygon here. All right, so go to View, and make sure that Smart Guides is checked, and make sure that Snap to Point is checked as well. Okay. So I'll just click at a few more here, and I'll kind of show you the basic concept of what we're trying to go for when it comes to this low poly portrait. You're looking for this little circle that appears next to the pen in order to close the shape down. That's what we're looking for there. There's a bit too complicated. We don't want to make it too terribly complicated here. Alright, let's do a few more, like so, and then I'll show you what the sort of end steps are. Alright. The idea is you want to have as few gaps as possible between the different polygons. So try to make sure that your polygons are connecting along each point. Much. 3 points here. There we go. That'll be good. This is gonna be a bit six-sided here. That's okay though. Try to constrain yourself here. In fact, in this case, well, look, we'll there. All right. A few more spots over here. I'll try getting his eye done as well. We can kind of see what we're looking at in just a second. For the eye, it might be just necessary just to do a simple, square. You definitely want to make sure that your eye's got plenty of detail, or not plenty of detail, but make sure that your eye makes sense. Make sure that your eye isn't just massive white. Make sure that there's some difference between like where the white of the eye is and where the iris is and the pupil is and all those things. So if you click randomly on this, it will take away your point. So just keep that in mind. Click off of the shape before you make your new shape. And let's finish it up here. Do one here. We'll do one here. Well, snap to these anchor points here. Okay, so I'm going to pause it here for just a second, and we'll see the completed version later on. But just to show what we're going for here, I'm going to go over to my layers menu and just kind of like make this layer 1 invisible. And you can kind of see what we're looking at here. We're looking at this little sort of rough approximation of what we've got. Now that doesn't look very appealing at this point because we have these little jagged edges kind of poking out. But what we're going to do is this. We're going to go to our properties. So let's find our little move tool here. And let's click on one of the shapes. And once we have the shape clicked, we'll go ahead and click on our eyedropper tool. And we'll click whatever sort of area of skin is right below our little shape here. So I'll click on, once again, I got my little tool here, my eyedropper tool, click once. And it's going to fill that up with just the color. It's going to take away the stroke. The stroke's going to be gone. So do the same thing to the other shapes we have here. So I'll click on this little shape right here. Then I'll grab my eyedropper tool. And I'll click again. Oops, make sure we have the right one selected here. There we go. Eyedropper. Oops. And you just hit I on the keyboard. Get it selected. V on the keyboard to get your move tool selected. Just gotta go back and forth hitting I and V. Right. And we'll get our move tool selected here. Oops. Once again. sometimes when you click on lines that have more than one line on them, you'll find that you've selected whatever is kind of on top. So let's see here. I can grab this one. Now in this case, this shape here is kind of on top of the other shapes here. So I'm going to get my move tool here, and I'm going to right click and say arrange, and I'm going to say send to back. So it'll be underneath all those different layers here, and I'll just I'll pull the opacity down just slightly. I'll pull it down all the way to 0, and we'll fill those in right here. Ctrl V. Oops. I. Pull this one up to 100. I guess no, but right. Let's do this. What we'll do is we'll back this up to where we'll have the pupil first. Get that filled in. Then the iris, and then we'll right click on that and send that to the back. Arrange, send backwards. One more time. Send backward. That's where you can hold down Control and hit the left square bracket until it reveals the. Let's try this again. Arrange, send back. Oh, here's this. I'll just pull this together here. Not anywhere. All right. You can even adjust the fill here by going to our little swatches, find our hue, saturation, brightness, and pull this down a little bit just to make it a little bit darker. That's good. And we'll do the same thing on here. Click on this eye, and we'll just right click on it. Cancel on arrange, send to back, and we'll see if we can't move our people up. We don't want to have too much space there, and let's continue on here. Okay, and so you can see sort of what we're looking for here. If I were to get rid of Danny Trejo's face, you can see that now we're starting to kind of form this sort of shape. It's starting to take shape. But you will notice there's some gaps here or there between the different polygons. So what we want to do with that is we're going to grab our little direct selection tool, and we can zoom in some, and we can see if we can't bring these little nodes to kind of meet up where they're supposed to go. So if I click off this and click onto one of the nodes, click on it once, and then you can drag it around, click on this, click on one of the nodes, then drag it where it needs to go. And just move around until you can get all those kind of pulled in. This is why we're going to do a low poly portrait. The more polygons you put in, the higher, obviously the higher resolution you're going to have, the more detail you can put in. But that's what kind of the level of detail is up to you. Make sure that you're kind of consistent across what you're doing. Don't have one part of this face be very detailed, the other part be somewhat sloppy. You want to make sure that you've got kind of a consistent balance of these things. So I'm just going to pause it here, and I'll come back and I'll show you the full version, the completed version, and we can then sort of see what that's supposed to look like at the very end here. All right, we'll pause it here, and we'll come back in a second.